Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET educator. In this new YouTube video, we are going to move forward with something concerning higher education unit, and that concerns paper 1. So basically, we are going to talk about the post-independence commissions of India. So basically, in the previous videos, we have tried to cover the pre-independence commissions, where we talked about the 1813 Charter Act, according to which 1 lakh rupees every year was supposed to be, used for the education system, but it was not really happening. Then we talked about Macaulay's Minute, which were introduced in 1835, in which he told us that yes, we want to produce a class of Indians by blood and color who should be Indian like the way they look, but they should be having British by, their opinions and their tastes, by their mannerisms, etc., and they should be working according to the British. Correct? We also talked about his downward filtration theory, in which he wanted to, the class that we are talking about, that I will only educate some Indians, and those some Indians will then be influencing other Indians to join the education system. He also was the person who said that there will be no funding for anything which is related to Indian heritage, any books which are related to Indian heritage, or whichsoever book is in any kind of Indian language. But yes, much funding will be done if any education or any book, education system, or anything, any book which is to be printed, which is in English language or concerning the Western system of education. So this is what we were covering in the previous videos, which were concerning the pre-independence commissions, correct? And there were other committees as well, the Hunter Commission, the Hartog Committee, Sargent Report, so on and so forth, which already have been talked about and covered in the previous video, which are important from the NET perspective, because every year out of these very particular commissions, the questions have been asked, correct? So, significance of educational reforms and development, the establishment of various commissions to address educational challenges which are there, and after the British, after the removal or the removal of the British from India, these commissions, these committees were introduced basically. So first committee after independence we are going to talk about is the RADHAKRISHNAN committee, which was headed by Shri Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. It is also known as University Education Commission, and I would highly recommend that you keep on writing down the other names for the educational committees which are there. So it was known as University Education Commission, Radhakrishnan Committee, based on higher education in India, because it is talking about the University Education Commission, correct? So higher education's purview, right? The university comes under the higher education purview only, correct? To improve quality, expanding access to education, promoting research, and fostering autonomy in universities. That was certain recommendations which were made by the Radhakrishnan committee to bring forth the research as well, which the British have already been talking about in their committees, but it was not properly implemented. Hence, these commissions were much more, let's just say they were more determined to get or provide people with education system, or imparting them with certain education, education system related to research, to promote research. Now, because they had the hold on the true education system of India, and they were the ones who are the guiding forces, correct? Then we have the Mudaliar Commission. 1952 to 53 is the timing. There also you were supposed to note down the 1948-49 Radhakrishnan committee came after the independence. Also known as Secondary Education Commission, which will be dealing with secondary education. Now it was headed or chaired by Dr. A. Lakshman Swami Mudaliar. So hence it was also titled as the Mudaliar Commission. The state of secondary education in India, how it can be improved, are there any reforms which should be introduced, is there any policy which can be bringing forward certain changes in the secondary education system of India. Included curriculum reforms, the syllabi should again be reorganized, teachers should be trained properly, the secondary school teachers should be trained properly, and vocational education should also be introduced. That was what has been the main aim, the recommendations of the Mudaliar Commission. Then we have the Bhaktavatsalaam Committee or Bhaktavatsalaam report, that is in 1963. And again, I will try to bring forth this very thing in your notice, that I've tried to, bring these very things in a chronological sequence. Alright, so you guys have the ease of access or ease to note these things down on the piece of paper whenever you are making your notes watching these very videos. So the chairman, coming back here, was Mr. M. Bhaktavatsalaam, to investigate the reasons for the lack of public support for girls' education, particularly in rural regions. So let me just tell you that there were national committees on women's education as well, which were introduced previously, Hansa Mehta Committee, etc., which released its reports. So Bhaktavatsalaam Committee was working forward, to those very things only, to see that where the females were lacking education system, right, lacking education basically in the rural area. So it was focusing on the rural areas per se, why the girls are not provided with education, right? At the primary level, it also said that co-education should be popularized. So basically, there were different types of schools which were there in the pre-independence times as well, but the Bhaktavatsalaam Committee said that, of course, we need to prepare women for the upcoming times as well, when they can, let's just say, deal with the men at the official sphere, deal with men in daily life. So how that could be done? If they are, let's just say, comfortable with talking to men, with being with men basically in the same classroom, that should be, the co-education should be promoted. The establishment of women's social education centers in rural areas, so that the people also who are there, they should be educated to know, they should also be knowing, they should also be acquiring the knowledge of this very thing, that how and why females should also be educated, why educating them is also really important. Incentives should also be provided, like the reservation of seats in training institutions for women, as well as appealing remuneration, housing quarters and transportation costs should be promoted, so that there are no obstacles for any woman to get access to education, and they are getting education. So rural areas mein this thing was being promoted, and incentives like these very things were also being, promoted and being introduced basically. Then we have one of the important education commissions which are post-independence, the KOTHARI Commission 1964 to 66, also known as Education Commission, headed by Dr. D.S. Kothari, which was trying to do the assessment of education system from what? From the pre-primary to higher education system of India. So from the pre-primary levels to higher education, it was one such commission which was looking at all these spheres of education, not just focusing on the university education per se, but higher education, pre-primary se leke higher education was the focus. It also said that 6% of the national income should be invested in education, which was one such thing which they thought of, that yes, the citizens of India are supposed to be educated particularly, and hence something or the other from the national income, at least 6% should be invested in the education. Also introduced 10 plus 2 plus 3 system of education, that we have till 10th, right? Then we have 11th, 12th, that is 2 and 3, that is 3 years for the bachelor's part. Advocated for the promotion of equal educational opportunities, integration of vocational education as well, and the use of technology in education, that how things should little bit maybe digitized to bring forward certain things which make the students curious. Correct? So this commission is really very important for the next things. Then we have National Policy on Education, that is in 1986. So let me, before talking about this very thing, there was this National Policy on Education which was introduced in the year 1968, which was during the times of Srimati Indira Gandhi. Correct? Then came National Policy of Education again in 1986. So these words are interchanged for just your, memory part. 1986 under Rajiv Gandhi's government. Correct? And then there was in 1992, certain changes which were made in this very policy, there were certain, there were certain people who sat down to bring forward and see if there are any supposed changes which are supposed to be made. So of course, these very things are important before jumping on to national policy on education. So this is particularly, if you want to write, this is not a policy, this is not a commission basically, this is a policy which was introduced to increase the spread of education system in India, and it was having this very motto of, NPE 1986 was having the motto of access and equity. Access means that every person should have the equal chance. All should be having the equal. Equity means fair chance, which means that no discrimination should be based on caste, creed, sex, gender, but every person in India should be getting education. Modernizing and restructuring the education system, right? Trying to modernize it, and according to basically drawing a parallel between the pre-independence commissions, which were not totally talking about any kind of modernization, emphasize the importance of access and equity. So this was one thing which has been introduced to the NPE, which was a policy and not a commission per se. So you can make a different box there on your notebook and try to write it. Then we have GNANAM committee in 1993, which recommended flexibility and autonomy for ensuring academic excellence. There should be autonomy, there should be flexibility, a little bit of flexibility in the courses if you want the academics, the people in your educational system, right, the people in your educational institution to achieve some kind of excellence. It also emphasized the need, and this can be asked in the NET examination, because there's this one such body which was introduced under GNANAM committee, National Commission on Higher Education and Research, to regulate the quality of education, to encourage research as well in the university system. So of course, it was based on higher education system, correct? So this was, if higher education system is there, how can we leave the university education? Under higher education purviews only university comes, correct? So GNANAM committee brought this very body, NCHER, National Commission on Higher Education and Research, which was promoting quality of education, and which means that the quantity is not the one thing which is mattering to us, but rather what matters to us is the quality of education and the university system. Research should also be promoted. Then we have National Knowledge Commission from 2005 to 2009. It was working. It is also known as Dr. Sam Pitroda Committee because it was chaired by Dr. Sam Pitroda. So if you see this very name, you know that you are talking about NKC, that is the National Knowledge Commission. Issues of knowledge and information in the digital era, and how technology again should be used in the classrooms in the educational systems to make things interesting for students. Made recommendations on higher education, vocational training again, e-governance for the digitalization and the use of technology in education. Correct? So this was there. Then in 2012, there was this one committee which was introduced, which was known as Justice VERMA Committee, which is really extraordinary if we try to read it. First of all, it was chaired by Dr. J.S. Verma, related to women's education and gender inequality. Tried to bring forward or address the changes which are supposed to be made on the, on certain grounds, and bring forward what? The equality for women and men. Promoting gender equity, that everybody should be getting an equal chance, be it in the cases of, jobs, etc. And empowerment through education, that educated minds are the ones mostly who commit less crimes. So that is what it was saying here. Formed to review and suggest measure, and this is what I am talking about when I call this committee as extraordinary. To enhance the safety and security of students in schools. This was one aim which is different from any and every other committee which we have studied till now. Also, it was focusing on preventing and addressing instances of child abuse. If in any kind of school, if in any kind of sphere child abuse is there, sexual harassment takes place, this committee was talking about that, and the prevention or the addressal. If there is anything which has happened, we will be addressing it under this very committee, but we'll try to prevent it as well by providing safety and security to students in the school, school premises as well. So this makes it a really different kind of committee in my view. So we know the reforms were supposed to be made even if we are talking about the pre-independence commissions, and in this video as we are talking about the post-independence commission. Played a crucial role in shaping the education system of India, influenced other kinds of policies. So there were, like we'll be talking about NEP 2020, how it was influenced some way or the other by the KOTHARI commission, but later on, but of course it developed a new kind of structure of system of education system in India. Influenced policies, reforms and the development of the education sector, reaching from pre-primary, primary, secondary to the university or the higher education level. Continual evaluation and implementation of reforms remain essential for the progress of education in India, because these things keep on changing and these things keep on moving forward with time. So we as Indians, we as people, or the government should be bringing forward certain changes according to the changing times, right? So this is what we were supposed to cover in this very video. We will be moving forward with other concepts in these very concept series. Till then, you all keep on studying. Thank you so much and have a good day.